evening. Welcome to Managing Your Digital Photographs. This is the second in a two-part series. Tonight's program is presented by Lida Bunting. She is the proprietor of Znimka Creations, a Park Ridge-based business that gets photos out of our phones and into print. Her business helps clients produce photo books, websites, and slideshows, and educates them about digital organizing, backup solutions, and scanning and converting obsolete media. And she brought a few examples of her photo books, and I encourage you to take a look. They're beautiful. They're very inspiring. If you missed the first part of this series, Organizing Your Print Photographs, which was last week with Bonnie Shea, you can still catch the video recording of it. It's on the library's YouTube channel, and also if you registered for tonight, we will be sending you the link to it, so you can forward it to people if you know anyone who would be interested. You can forward links for both programs. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Lida.
Thanks for having me.
How would you take it from here?
All right. So thank you all for being here. I'm glad that it's not like freezing cold where everybody had to be like completely bundled up like last week, but definitely appreciate you all coming. We are going to be talking about the new face of photography and talk about where we've gone from the film, the digital cameras, to now taking pictures with our phones, the overwhelm that we're all feeling, why we're feeling that overwhelm. You're not alone. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of photos out there, and we were never taught how to manage our digital collections. So we were thrown into this and expected to just manage it. Well, now we've got all this stuff. So we're going to talk about where we've gone, where we've been. We're going to talk about a little bit why we take our photos, because if you understand why you do what you're doing, maybe you'll be a little bit more conscientious of maybe I don't need to take that screenshot, or maybe I don't need to take a picture or 10 pictures of that sunset. And you can understand why you're taking and what you plan on doing with it. We're also going to talk about some of the challenges we're facing with managing all this digital clutter, and it is clutter. And then hopefully give you an idea of how you can share and enjoy your photos. And as Grace mentioned, the books are like the cherry on the cake, and why have our photos tracked on our phones. So that's kind of a lay of the land. I do talk fast. I do have a lot of content to cover. So if I do say something and you're like, oh, I don't get it. If you want to wait till the end and ask your question, that's fine. Or if you want to just be like, hey, Lida, can you pause for a sec? Feel free to interrupt and I'll backtrack. So I'm going to start with, where are we? So about 6 years ago, an artist by the name of Eric Kessels decided he wanted to do an exhibit of all the photos that were uploaded to Flickr in one 24-hour period. That result is over 1 million photos that took several rooms to store. And he had a quote, this is just a portion of it. His quote was, "I visualize the feeling of drowning in representations of other people's experiences." So this exhibit, to give you an idea of how many photos millionaires, if you took, these are all 4x6s, if you took them and you lined them up, they would go around the globe 53 times. So this is years ago. Since then, we have taken even more photos. And I have some stats. And hopefully, by hearing these stats, everybody will be like, oh, okay, I get it. I see why I'm overwhelmed. So these are just crazy. And thankfully, the year just ended. So these are 2024 stats. And it was in an article, Fututoria, which is an online article. And the name of the article was Photo Statistics, How Many Photos Are Taken Every Day? So how many photos? So it was an estimated of 1.94 trillion, that's with a T, photos were taken worldwide. Okay, now so globally that means 5.3 billion photos daily, or 61,400 every second. Now that's globally. So bringing that a little bit closer to home, the average American takes 20 photos a day. Now, I haven't taken many this week, but I might be going out this weekend. I might have a kid's dance or a sporting event, and I might take 100. And there are those 20, that's the average. So 20 a day, and then you just multiply it. Our smartphones are taking 94% of our digital photos. Gone are the days of those DSLR beautiful cameras. The Google image search indexes an estimated 136 billion images, and 18 billion are shared daily on social media. So we are taking photos and then we're sending it off to our friends, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. WhatsApp is leading the charge at 6.9 billion photos a day. That's a day. So no wonder we are overwhelmed. No wonder our photos, no wonder our phones are busting at the seams with storage capacities. Now, another quote, the unfortunate thing is once a photo's been taken, it loses its significance. And we take it, it has its purpose, and then it has lost that purpose. So this was an editor of Six Site Report, and what it says is that we're taking our photos, and it's a means of communication with someone. And then once we've had that communication with them, we don't need that photo anymore. But we don't do anything with it. We don't delete it. We don't get rid of it. It stays in our digital clutter. So we all have clutter, whether it's on our phones, whether it's on, we've got our CDs, we've got our thumb drives, which I'm going to go through these in a little bit. But we all have that digital clutter, and it's just collecting. So these devices are also going to become obsolete. How many people have the ability to read an SD card on their computers? Okay, a handful of you. How about CDs? Okay. So our computers aren't even being built with CD readers anymore. I just got a brand new PC, and I basically had to beg Dell to, I need that CD reader. I'm still burning CDs and DVDs for my clients. I need this. And they're like, well, nobody uses it. Well, I use it. So we used to get them from Walgreens. We used to give them, here's one from preschool. Schools would give us this stuff. If you go to Disney World, they might give you a CD. Now it's like digital downloads, but we have this stuff, and it's going to become obsolete. So those are your digital photos that you need to remember and keep and make safe. So our photos are for remembering, and if they're going to serve a purpose, then have that be its purpose and then delete it, which I'll get into in a minute. So we're going to talk about why we take photos. Now, photos are supposed to tell a story. Photos are supposed to be meaningful. Photos are supposed to evoke some sort of emotion, whether it's happiness or sadness. And they're supposed to I think I already said that they're supposed to tell our story. So this photo actually looks like it's not going to really make it into a frame or an album, but to me, it actually will make it into our year in review book because it's special to me. And there's a story behind this because we traveled this year for Christmas and we visited young cousins in DC, and we had never made gingerbread houses. So I bought a couple kits. One of them, there was a little tornado that came through that house, and the big bad wolf blew it down. And fortunately, there were no tears with that one. There were tears with the others, but there was fun. There was eating of the frosting, eating of the candy. The kitchen was a mess. So there's a story here. So I took that photo of the kids making the gingerbread houses and then of the final product. And those two photos tell a story of our Christmas this year. So why do you take photos? Anybody want to tell me why you take photos? Memories, okay.
I was going to say to help memory.
Okay.
Milestone markers.
Okay. Yeah. Significant events. Okay.
Things you need to remember, screenshots of my websites or.
Okay. So like a reference. Recipes. Documents.
Share our dog with the kids. Do you remember where I parked?
Oh. Yeah.
Evidence.
Okay. That could be interesting.
Business.
Okay. What about the photos that you want to leave for future generations, your children, your siblings, nieces, nephews?
I turn them into books.
You turn them into books. Okay. Great. So we have stories to tell, and those stories are for remembering. And when we have a plan in place of how to remember and how to keep the reference photos or how to keep the parking photos, once you found your car, you could probably delete that photo, right? Or a document can be saved to the notes. It could come out of the Photos app. So there are different strategies. But if we have an idea of why we're taking that photo in the first place, then we will know what we should be doing with it. And we've always, I mean, since the invention of the camera, people have used photos to tell their stories. I'm not a words person. I'm a numbers person and I'm a pictures person. So if it were up to me, I'd be reading the comics, not the books, because it's pictures. So when we get to organizing, where do we start? Because there's a lot out there. I think I already mentioned that we have CDs, we have bags of thumb drives, we have old cameras. Some of these have internal memory, some of them have the little SD card on the inside. So where do we start? How do we know what to do with it? So my recommendation is to start with digital. Why? Because our digital collections are growing. Our printed collections, you were here last week, for those of you that were here with Bonnie, she gave you a plan for what to do with your printed photos. Those collections aren't growing. Yes, you need to make them safe, but they're not going to get any bigger. Your digital collection is growing daily by 20 photos a day. So start with your digital, but take care of them both. So before I get too much further, I'm just going to give you a quick little brief overview of who I am and why I'm here and why you should listen to me. I am a certified professional photo organizer. Yes, that's a thing. I got certified 8 years ago. So I graduated college. I went into engineering. I worked in construction. And after like 15 years and 2 kids, I was like, this isn't for me. So I launched my business in 2016. So I'm approaching my 9-year anniversary. And I love photos. I've always put photos in albums. I still have those sticky albums with the plastic film. And because I really love telling those stories. So I have migrated away from the printed photos. My world right now is digital. My kids are teenagers. So their entire life has been documented with digital photos. And so I started making annual year in review books when my daughter was born. And I've meticulously kept up with that-ish. I'm a little bit behind right now, but every year they get a year in review book and we document our life. I do vacation books, special occasions, you name it, so that we have that documentation. I am also a fur mom, and every July I volunteer at a Ukrainian scout camp in the kitchen prepping meals. So that's a little bit of my personal side. So I'm very passionate about the photos, the storytelling, and getting the digital collections migrated into one location so that they're safe, and then you can do something with them. I want you to do something with your photos. It doesn't have to be books. All right, so we're going to go through the memory management system, and it's 5 steps, but it's cyclical. You're not just going to do it once. So you're going to collect, then inspect, select, protect, and then connect, and then repeat. So it is a hands-on thing, and there are programs that I'm going to reference, but we're not going to roll up our sleeves and talk about how to use the programs. I'm just going to give you the ideas of this is what you want to do. So we're going to start with collect. Now everybody should have one of these handy dandy little things. I thought I flipped my thing with having it. There we go. All right. So on screen is an example of one of my clients' workflows. So at the very top, you have the situational imports. These are the things that you import once, because once it's done, once you've taken the photos off of the CD, you don't have to do it again. It's done. So you import it into your hub, which is the thing in the middle, and then this can go away. Don't throw it away right away. Just put it off to the side until you're done collecting everything. And so you've got your situational. Now there could be more than just these 3. This is just an example. So if you need to make more circles on yours, do it. It could be any of those types of media. It could also be cloud-based accounts. Do you have photos in cloud-based accounts that you want to get your photos out of? So those would be the situational ones. Then along the left-hand side, you've got your regular sources. These are the ones that are continuous. You've got a spouse who texts you photos, or you have kids who are sending you photos from college, or you've got siblings who live abroad and they're sending you pictures from Europe or South Africa. So those are the ones that are consistently being added to. Those you will always need to get them into your hub. Okay, so you collect. So again, how Bonnie collects everything on a dining room table with the printed photos, we're doing the same thing, but virtually with, you know, your digital collection. And the photo hub for this particular client, she is paying Apple $9.99 a month for 2 terabytes of storage so that she can put all of her digital stuff into Apple. I'm not telling you all that's what you have to do. This is an example. Yours is blank. It says photo hub. It can be wherever you want it to be. It could be an external hard drive. It could be your computer's hard drive. It could be a solid state drive, which is like an external hard drive. So your hub is where you choose it to be. The goal here is to collect, and put it into your hub where you choose it to be. We'll talk about backups later, and then we'll talk about projects later. So right now we're collecting, okay? That's step 1. Here is an example of one of my clients, how I collected for her. So she had a bunch of CDs. So I take a CD, CD01, unload it. I made a folder on my PC, CD1, CD2, CD3, so on and so forth. Same with her external drive. Same with anything else. It gets loaded as folders and everything gets labeled. That way I know that the CDs have been unloaded and that they're in this hub. The next step is inspect. Now, I'm not asking you to go photo by photo and inspect tens of thousands of photos. There's software out there that can help you with this. So if you have photos coming from multiple sources, chances are you have multiple versions of that same photo. I had a client who was so worried about losing, she renewed her vows in Hawaii. She had 11 versions of that entire thing, okay? When you have that many, you're at risk of losing those because you don't know where they are. So the goal is to whittle it down to the one best version. So on that sheet, on the back side, I list 2 programs. This is the deduping software. Now, these aren't free, but they're also not expensive. And they are worth their price tag because nobody is going to go photo by photo comparing, 11 versions of the same photo. This is an example of what Photo Sweeper, which is on a Mac. This is what it looks like. You give it criteria. You say whether there's a master folder or you want to keep the biggest size or the biggest resolution. It will find them. It will mark the extras to delete, and it'll keep the best. Okay. There's a similar software on a PC that does it too. So the PC one is Duplicate Cleaner Pro. When you Google that, make sure you choose the one by Digital Volcano. There's a lot of spoofs out there. You want to get the right one. And then the one on Mac, you buy it through the App Store, and that one's called Photo Sweeper. Again, not free, but definitely worth it. All right, so after you inspect and you get rid of your duplicates, you will also be able to see any blurry ones, and you'll be able to choose if you want to delete those too. So after that, then you need to go into your select mode. Now, select is a 2-part thing. You're going to be selecting photos, but you're also going to be selecting the software that you're going to use to organize your photos. There are plenty of photo organizing softwares out there. I am not even going to scratch the surface. I'm giving you an overview of, yes, you should use a photo organizing software. I'm not going to tell you which one because it is a personal preference based on how comfortable you are with technology, what sort of operating system you have, and whether or not you're on a computer, or if some people don't have computers nowadays, so they do everything on their phones or their iPads. So here are 4 different examples of how we organize. If you're on a PC or if you're on a Mac, there are programs that come native to those computers that are perfectly fine. The Photos app on a Mac, you can use that to organize your photos. There's a lot of built-in tools that if you know how to use them, They are wonderful. Same with the PC. There's the Pictures app. You could organize your photos in there. Those are free. Then there are some paid programs. So on the sheet, I did list some of them. Adobe is a very large company. They have a lot of photo-centric programs. Lightroom Classic is what is shown down here. It's very robust. It's very hardy. It is, again, not free, but if you really want to dig in and roll up your sleeves, it's a great program. Adobe also has a free program called Adobe Bridge. It's not as robust as Lightroom Classic, but it has some of the same tools where you can organize your photos, add keywords, rename your photos, delete them en masse. Again, it's a personal preference. Choose a software that works for your needs and for your comfort level. I have clients who want to have everything in Apple. That's great. I have clients who don't want to pay Apple a cent and want everything out. So that's fine. You do you is basically what I'm saying. So then select. We have to select photos. And how do we select our photos? Yes, I'm showing a picture of pictures that are print photos. So I'm not talking about printed photos today. That was funny. But once you get these digitized, they get integrated into your digital collection. So you don't keep them separate. You don't keep your printed photos that have been digitized separate from your digital collection. They get integrated because you want all of your photos to live in the same place. So how do we go about selecting? Well, we use the ABCs of photo organizing. And it's a super simple acronym, and they each mean something. So when you're organizing your photos, digitally or in print, you want to think about your story. You want to think about your legacy. You want to think about what you plan on doing with those photos. You want to think about, okay, is this important to me? Is this important to, my kids? Or who is going to be seeing this? What story can I tell with it? What do I want to pass along? And how do I want to pass it along? So when we talk about the ABCs, the A photos, some water, sorry. How am I doing so far? Talking too fast, too slow? You guys good? Okay. All right. So the A photos, these are your A+ photos. Now, this is something that I want to encourage all of you to start doing if you haven't already. We all have our phones with us 24/7. We can very easily A+ our photos by giving them a little heart. So Google has it, Apple has it. Start using the heart function on your favorite photos because it will be able to then whittle down your collection to just the creme de la creme. And your A+ photos, they don't have to be the most beautiful photos. They don't have to be the professionally taken. These are the ones that mean something to you. These are the ones that evoke some sort of emotion. These are the ones that tell a story and a story that you want to pass along. Okay. Now, the B photos. The B photos are just kind of like, they're there. They're okay. You don't necessarily want to delete them because you might still need them, but they're also not heart-worthy. So we keep them. The way some other photo managers have talked about the B photos is like if they were in print and they were in a box, you put a note in the box and you put a lid on and the note says, in the event that I have passed away, you can throw away these photos. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So it's kind of like, you don't want to get rid of them, but you really don't want to keep them, front and center. The C photos, these are the ones that you can share and then throw in the can. Deleting is your friend. We keep so much stuff, and that stuff starts kind of building, and it's clutter, and we don't need to keep it. So if a photo has served its purpose, like that Paul Worthington quote says, if it has served its purpose and you don't need it anymore, might as well get rid of it. You're probably paying for the storage, but it's also a visual thing as you're scrolling to see all that clutter. You don't need that. So get rid of photos. The other thing is, at least on Apple or on a PC, you have time to retract that deleted photo. Apple keeps things in the trash for 28 days. If you delete it on your computer, it stays there until you empty the little trash can. So nothing's really deleted right away. You could always go back if you have deleter's remorse. I don't know many people who do go back in and take it out of the deleted, but it is something that you can tell yourself, I can go back and undelete it if I need to. So go ahead and delete away. You might feel good about that. And then the S photos. The S photos are the ones that at first glance might not be that significant, but they have a story to them. So if there's a picture of you in front of your childhood home and there's, a tiny fir tree and you're driving past and you're like, oh my gosh, there's my childhood home. And you go out there and you take another picture of it and you don't want to stand in front of it because you're alone, but the tree is huge. There's a story there. There's that history. There's that chronology. So when we think about how we are going to sort our photos, so we have our photos, they're in a program that you have chosen to use to get yourself organized. Our lives happen chronologically. We follow a date pattern. So most programs that have some sort of photo organized component, their natural thing is that they are loaded by date. And that's okay because our lives happen in date. However, there are some things that happen in our lives that don't necessarily follow the right date pattern. For example, we did an addition on our house several years ago. I was taking pictures, my husband was taking pictures, my teenager was taking pictures, my husband was taking drone pictures, and he was using his DSLR. I got all those pictures and I put them into my Apple account, but they're all on different dates. And if I want to find something, to scroll through my entire library to find those photos was a big pain in the neck. So I created an album. So now I have an album called House Edition. And so they're all there. So it's okay to do things thematically. In Apple, there are tools that Apple will do it for you. But in other programs, there are ways that you would have to do it manually. And that's okay because when you do it, or if you take professional photos and you've got, the fall photo shoot from 2022 and the fall photo shoot from 2023 and the fall photo shoot from 2024, you don't necessarily remember which month it was taken. That way you can go to all your photo shoots and you can go find them. So it's okay to do both when you're organizing digitally. There is no right or wrong way. What you want to think about is how are you going to be searching for photos? How are you going to, when you're showing someone something digitally, or if you're looking for something, the question is, are you a searcher or are you a browser? Because our technology will allow us to browse or to search. We can input keywords, which I'm going to go get into in a little bit, but there are different ways that we could have it organized. So again, it's a very personal thing. I would never tell someone how they should organize. I can make recommendations, but it's really up to the end user. So you think about how you would organize, how you would be searching for things, and then that's how you would organize. Yes.
Do you duplicate so you have it by year and you also have it under travel, like the trip to whatever?
So it depends what software you're in. If you're in a program like Apple, the photo lives in the library, but then there's virtual copies of it in multiple places, but it's not duplicated. If you're using a program like Lightroom Classic, which is a desktop-based program, then you would choose where it would go in. You could always use keywords where it lives chronologically, but then you type in a keyword and you would search for it and it would come up based on the keywords. So you don't want to duplicate the photos, but depending on the program that you're using, it's either a virtual copy or you would just move it. Sure. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is protect. Because if you've gone through these steps, you've collected everything, you've deduped it, you've put it into a program, now you want to protect your photos. And kind of like when we did the sorting, or how we did the selecting. Selecting was a two-part, well, so is protect, because you want to protect the actual images by adding meaningful metadata to it. And you want to protect the whole collection by creating backup systems. So I'm going to talk about both of those in this section. So the first thing is the metadata. Now, metadata, so way back when our parents and our grandparents had photos, and they would potentially write on the back of the photos. They would say who's in the picture, where it was taken, when it was taken. That's the metadata. It's the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why of the photo. We don't do that with our photos anymore. We take our photos and we snap, snap, snap away. And yes, technology is telling us when it was taken. Technology is telling us where it was taken. And if you can see the faces, technology will tell us who's in the photo. So the technology for this photo has told me that it was taken at my house. The metadata is also telling me that it was taken on April 2nd of 2020. Can't tell me who's in the photo, but why is it significant? Well, it's up to me to add the captions and the keywords to it because this was e-learning. COVID had just started. So we had a makeshift school in our house. This was phase 1. They didn't stay together very long. We had to separate them. But it's up to me to add my kids' names to this photo so that if I ever want to search for them, this photo comes up. I need to add a keyword like COVID. So that if I ever want to do a search for my COVID pictures and make a book of our COVID journal, then I would have that. So yes, the metadata is with the photo when it's taken, but it's not always the right metadata. So it's up to us to add the important stuff to our own photos. And that's the story. And we don't want to forget that story.
And you can add multiple keywords, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's another example. I did do a lot of my personal photos in my presentations because I'm real. So here is my collection in Lightroom Classic, and I had added keywords to my collection, and these are, I did a search for anniversary. And so if I ever want to throw my husband an anniversary party, I will search for anniversary and the 5-star photos, and over the next, we've been married for, 17, 18 years. I will be able to pull up anniversary photos and make a collage or something. And so, so here you can see we've got anniversary, we've got my husband's name and my name. And if I wanted to, we can add locations and things like that. That's just, my collection's okay. It can have more information. All right, so protect part B. This is super important. And the photo managers, which is an organization that Bonnie and I are both a part of, they recommend and they follow Homeland Security's recommendation called 3-2-1. So the three copies of anything that's important to you on 2 different kinds of media with 1 stored off-site. For example, a photo collection could live on my computer's hard drive. And then I have 2 external drives. Ta-da! 2 external drives that have the same exact duplicate photo collection. And then I give this one to my sister. And she lives offsite. She does not live with me. And she keeps this. Because what good would it be if all 3 versions of my photo collection are in my house and I have a tornado or a flood or a fire? So you don't want to have all 3 in one location. Another way would be 1 hard drive, 1 computer, and the cloud. Okay, the cloud is a backup. Photo books are a backup because when you print your photos in a book, you've already selected the best. So those are the ones that meant something to you. So that is considered a backup. Your printed photos, when you get them digitized, the important ones, you can keep those in an archival safe box. That's a backup. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Remember that? Okay, now free. There are a lot of free programs out there. There are a lot of free cloud-based programs out there. You get what you pay for. If your photos are important to you, it behooves you to pay for the storage for them. Whether you're paying Apple, whether you're paying Dropbox, Amazon Prime, Google, if you're paying for it, then your photos are safer than if you're expecting them to be free. What happens sometimes with the free sites is that you get a certain amount of storage for free. You load your photos and you're like, woohoo, my photos are here, yay, I can access them on the web. And then you're encroaching on that storage and you load more, well, that program will say, oh, we need to make more space. We'll compress the files already in here to make space for the new stuff. And you don't realize that your stuff is getting smaller. So what you want to do if you're experimenting or finding new cloud-based programs, do the research and find out, will your images be compressed? Because what goes in, that's what you want to come out. Because what's the point of uploading a huge professional photo and getting a teeny tiny thumbnail out? That's not going to serve you very well. So do your homework, find the programs that won't compress, and know that your photos are safe. Apple does not compress your images. You're paying for that storage. So what you take, it lives in there. On your phone, they're optimized, and that's okay because they're living in the cloud, and that's what you're paying for. So there are programs that won't compress your images. Programs like Shutterfly, where they say, oh, we'll store your photos. Yes, but have you ever tried taking your photos out? So you want to make sure that if you put your photos into any of these programs, that they're easy to come out because there's a backup. So if you've lost these 2 drives and you're scrambling to get your backup, you don't want to be doing zip files of 100 images at a time 500 times. Okay, so just beware of those. I don't want to go on too much on that because I want to move on to connect. This is why we take our photos, so that we can put them somewhere. Whether you put it on a wall, you make a gallery wall, a digital frame, a slideshow, a family website, or books. This is not a staged photo. My kids absolutely love when a new book comes in. This was our 2016 book that came in 2019. And they tore open the box and they ran to our family room. The only thing that's staged in this is that is not the background of my family room because it was a disaster when I took the picture. So that is a virtual background, but those are my kids and they are truly giggling and laughing about the photos in these books. Kids love them. Old people love them. Young people love them. Everybody loves to look at themselves in books. So other ways that we can share and connect with each other. Online, there are websites that could be family photo websites. You can have it be password protected. You could have different chapters, different branches of the family that have their own section. Everything can be keyworded. They can type in a word in the search bar. And it's really something that connects your family and your friends together. Digital frames. Digital frames have come a long way. You don't have to plug in a thumb drive anymore. You can have an app on your phone. You can send your favorites to the frame and they play automatically. There's legacy books where you can tell an entire family story with chapters and write-ups and collages. There's slideshows. There's so many different ways that you can connect with family and friends with your photos. And then we come back to collect because, like I said, this is cyclical. You've done all this, but you have more photos coming in. We are out about, we're having dinner with friends, we're going to a play, we're going to a sporting event, we're airdropping photos to each other, we're emailing. When you get, now that you've done all this, when you have your hub and you know that you're supposed to heart your photos, you know that you're supposed to delete your photos, you know that you can send it to a friend. When you get a photo texted, if you want to keep it, save it to your hub right away. Don't wait. Don't be like, oh, I'll get to it later. Right then and there. If it's a photo you want to keep, you don't want to ever have to go through your text and be like, oh, I need to go find that photo. Save it immediately. Same with emails. Email photos, if you're on a computer and you download it, it's going to be in your downloads folder. You don't want it to live in your downloads folder. That's going to run amok. So either put it into a folder that you can say, photos to upload to hub later or something. Just get it out of downloads because every single thing that you ever download is in that downloads folder, whether it's a PDF or a JPEG from something else. You don't want important photos to live in your downloads. Yes.
I'm sorry, going backwards a little bit. Could you say a little bit more about the legacy option?
Oh, sure. The legacy book?
Yes.
So when you take a collection, And usually the legacy collections start with the printed photos that get organized and scanned. And you tell a whole family story through a book. And there's, the chapters of the early 1900s, and then grandma's life from 1910 to 1940, and then the marriage and the children and then the grandchildren. And there's multiple write-ups about the family. And everybody in the family has a copy of that book. It's like an heirloom that you get handed down from generation to generation. And it's photos that get captured in that book.
Thank you.
Sure. Wait, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. All right. So, if anything, when you do this, you will appreciate it. Your future self will appreciate you doing this now. If you take the time to just slowly chip away at it. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Trust me, I know how hard it is. I know how time consuming it is. But if you dedicate a little bit of time, once a week, every couple weeks, just go in and just say, today's my photo day, and just start working at it. You'll make a lot of progress in a year, in 2 years, and you will feel so much better. It's kind of like when we do spring cleaning. Like you open the windows in April or May and you clean out the old stuff, you feel so good. This is digital cleanup, so you want to do it. Because you don't want to do this. We have, I laugh, my mom actually she's not a pack rat or anything. She doesn't have that much stuff. But my father-in-law, he moved here and he's got boxes and boxes of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do with that? Your children, my children don't want clutter. They don't want the physical clutter, and they certainly don't want the digital clutter. So do what you need to do, because at the end of the day, you want smiles, you want tears. And, it's funny, I say I want my clients to cry. And so bottom middle, one of my clients, actually, it was a joint project that Bonnie and I did together. She digitized and organized the print photos, and then her client, the son, came to me and I made a legacy book for his mom. And he videoed her, and I couldn't play the video, so I took screenshots of her, but she was so touched that he went through this effort to capture her life from her childhood until her birthday, with a picture of her son and his children. And it's her whole life in a book. So this is why we do this. This is why we want to get our photos organized, hearted, deleted, and put into somewhere where you can enjoy them. So that's it. I think I did save some time for questions, and if anybody needs to reach me, there's my contact information. It's also on the handout. Yes.
So the family websites you said, are they paid subscriptions, or encrypted? You said they're relatively safe. How do you go about finding like a good family website?
So
Or what's a good criteria for it?
So I use a program called SmugMug. And SmugMug. Yeah, it's a website that professional photographers use that oftentimes to share their galleries with their clients. They also have the ability to create a website. SMUGMUG. It may have been. It's on the cloud-based storage solutions. So you can upload a lot of photos to SmugMug, and when you download from SmugMug, it's full resolution. And professional photographers will sell from there, but you can turn off the buy sell option. Yes.
I missed how you label your photos. Like how do you put the data that you want on them?
So each program works a little bit differently, but like you can do it through your Photos app on your phone.
Okay.
If you're using the Adobe programs, each program does it differently, but there's usually a blank where it says keywords or caption, you can type it in.
So I'm still lost. So I have all my photos and they're chronological and I can get the date on them. How do I put on them that these are from vacation in Hawaii or something wonderful?
So that's a whole nother session that's like really in the weeds, because it would be program specific. So
How do I put one word on it?
Do you have an iPhone?
do you have
So at the bottom of your photo, there's a little eye,
if you click on that eye, you can type something in.
Or you can talk.
Oh, yeah.
So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. So we're not going to get too far into the weeds with this because I am an iPhone user and an expert in their technology. So don't ask me any Android questions. But if you click on a photo and you go, oh, this is a video. Sorry, we're not going to do that. Okay, and you click the little eye at the bottom. Okay, and then right under the actual picture, there's a blank. It says add a caption. And when you click on that, in the lower right-hand corner, there's the little microphone. And you can say, me opening my new TC. And now I've got the caption written. Okay.
I don't see it. You must have a newer one. I have a brand new.
So it would be, you have to click in the,
Oh, there, oh, I see. Bottom right. On the bottom of the keyboard. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, wow.
yep, so.
Can you talk for 1 second about albums and smart albums? Because that's how I was sort of saving mine. I don't know if that's the smartest way. Sorry, what's the question?
So the difference between albums and smart albums. So the Apple platform on a computer, not on a phone, allows for smart albums, which is a thing of beauty. Smart albums are brilliant. I love them. They're not a hard album. So as you know, you can't see your smart albums on your phone. You can only see them on your computer. But it is a great way for you to organize naturally and automatically your photos. So it's a great way to do it.
But you have to drag them in there. For the
No, not smart albums. Smart albums, you put in criteria. And other programs, Lightroom Classic, you can create a smart collection. Mylio, you can create rules. So different organizing platforms have similar capabilities. This is specific to Apple. So Apple has a lot of great capabilities, but that would be another 2-hour session.
When you're adding data on an Apple,
Mhm.
do you do it in the library? Or, because when I've added data into the photos in an album, it doesn't save to the library copy. Does that make sense?
It should.
Really?
Yeah. Was it recent?
Yeah. Maybe my computer is older or something. I don't know.
Are you running the same? Are you running both at the newest? The phone is at iOS 18 right now,
Probably, maybe not.
and then your
Yeah.
computer, I think, is supposed to be at, what is it called nowadays? Sierra? No.
Yeah, I forget.
So
Yeah.
as long as both are running the latest iOSs, it should
Okay, so I
transfer.
could put labels in the photos as they appear in the album and
Yes.
it would transfer over
Absolutely.
to, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should not be different.
Okay.
And can you just click a number of photos and they'll all change? Like I use Apple.
Yeah, so you could select multiple photos, and then when you click the little eye, then the little info panel will pop up on the screen, and you can add a keyword or a caption, and it'll apply to all the photos that have been selected.
And you suggest like doing this, just starting at the beginning and start going through them and doing what you're saying, delete and or art and then.
For Apple, I mean, there are some really great tools that could allow you to filter your photos to do quicker deletes. But like I said, I mean, like that is a whole nother session to get through all those tricks and tips.
Could we Google like to find those? Like what would we search?
Yeah, you could. So for one, your phone itself has a tips section. So if you scroll from the top of your phone and you type in tips, a little yellow icon with a white.
For your photos?
You have to type in for search. You type in tips. Do the like if you.
Yeah, what do you want?
Oh, do this. See it's a search right there. Go back to your menu. Oh yeah, now put tips.
So that would be iPhone and Apple tips. You could also just go to Google and say, how do I search or how do I do this? I do teach a class on Apple. If you're interested, send me an email and I'll tell you my next date.
Oh, okay, yeah, that'd be great.
I use Photoshop. What would be would Lightroom be the best? I don't use Lightroom usually, I just use Photoshop.
If you're using Photoshop and it works for you, why change?
Okay.
I mean-
That's a good way to organize them.
For organizing, I don't think Photoshop organizes. It's editing.
Okay, right. But
Yeah.
so like to Lightroom, you said you can organize.
Yeah, Lightroom you can organize. So if you already have the Adobe Suite, you probably already have Lightroom.
Yeah,
You're using
I
Photoshop.
just don't really use it, so I.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lightroom does have some light editing to it, but the more robust is the Photoshop.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? I do have some sample books over here, maybe to inspire you to make a book of your dog or to make a vacation book. I also have a wedding book where there's the regular book and then the parent book. So feel free to take a look and I'll be here for a few minutes to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.